Okay, so today New Japan announced the G1 Climax 30 participants. And for the fifth year in a row, I'm going to be tracking it. You're probably going to ask me, what is the G1 Climax? The G1 is short for Grade-1 Climax. This is New Japan Pro Wrestling's premier round-robin tournament. 20 men split into two blocks of 10. And since G1 22 in 2012, the winner of this tournament is guaranteed a main event title match at the following year's Wrestle Kingdom on the following January 4th. In this case, whoever wins gets a title shot January the 4th, 2021 at Wrestle Kingdom 15 at the Tokyo Dome. The participants are, in the A block, Kota Ibushi, Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, Shingo Takagi, Yujiro Takahashi, Taichi, Minoru Suzuki, Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay, and Jay White. In the B block, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hiroki Goto, Toru Yano, Yoshihashi, Sanada, Tetsuya Naito, Evil, Zack Sabre Jr., Juice Robinson, and Kenta. This is probably one of the most I'm going to admit, this lineup is not as good as last year's lineup, especially when you throw in two scrubs. A couple of factors that I'm a little skeptical about. First off, Yujiro Takahashi being in this one. He hasn't been in this tournament since 2015, if I remember correctly, and most of the time he's been regulated to Bullet Club's Fall Guy and Open Card Specialist. Open Carter. The only reason he's even in this year's G1 is twofold. One, the pandemic pretty much locked off the Gaijin, most of the Gaijin Bullet Club guys from competing in Japan, which really spread Bullet Club thin throughout the summer. Throughout the spring and summer, and both during the lockdown and during the summer, or when New Japan was allowed to open its doors again in June. And two, Okada basically took pity on this guy, put him in that program against him, that's lasted all through the stupid King of Pro Wrestling tournament shit that I had no understanding of, and that's why he's in the G1. Likewise, in the B block, Yoshihashi is in only because he finally won a title. In his case, the never openweight six-man titles, which he co-holds with Tomohiro Ishii and Hiroki Goto. The other factors I'm a little worried about are the guys we haven't seen in the ring in months. Specifically, Juice Robinson and Will Ospreay. From what I understood, Ospreay was battling bouts of depression and suicide during the lockdown. And the fact that he was stuck in England meant he couldn't even get home to Japan. But now that he's allowed to go back, which leads me to believe that the Strong and Fighting Spirit Unleashed episodes were pre-taped, and that he, White, and Juice have been in Japan for at least a couple of weeks and will return in time for the tournament, and will be back in action. I'm more worried that White and Juice have atrophied in their lockdown time. In their time in lockdown. At least with Kenta and Cobb and White, they've been doing some action in the California dojo, with New Japan's Western U.S. shows, New Japan's TV tapings, New Japan Strong, and now Fighting Spirit Unleashed. And Kenta has a guaranteed U.S. heavyweight title shot in his back pocket. That is, if Moxley can even make it to Japan to defend his gold. If he can't do it by the end of September, he's going to be stripped of it, and I'll bet in reality, what's in that briefcase is the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship. So basically, it wasn't for a title shot that Kenta he won the tournament. He won the U.S. title. Think of what the WWE did when Becky Lynch, for the women's Money in the Bank, back in May, when Becky learned of her pregnancy and she vacated the women's title and made that, the Raw women's title, and made that the prize for the for the double Money in the Bank, with that title going to the winner of the women's half at the world headquarters. With Moxley, on the other hand, it's due to his AEW contract, and plus the fact that the U.S. is still penned up for the majority of natural-born American citizens who can't get out or get in. Since Juice has officially moved to Japan, he can actually go back, so he's basically immune to this problem. Moxley is not. He, Kenta, and White can actually... He and Kenta can legitimately go home. White, not being a New Zealander by birth, can go back to Japan if he so wants to. Moxley, on the other hand, has no such privileges. Which is why I'm pissed as to why he didn't drop the AEW title at All Out. Had he done that, I think he would have been allowed to catch a plane to Chiba, stay in quarantine for a couple of weeks, and then make his announcement that he was going to bulldoze Yujiro and steal his spot in the G1 tournament. Or he could do it to Yoshihashi. Moxley is more tweener than anything else in New Japan. Regardless, after November the 4th, when this whole pandemic BS is over, regardless of who wins presidency and governorship of the various states and various parts of the U.S., one thing is certain. It'll prove to my point that the coronavirus has been nothing more than a political weapon. Do I believe it's a legit virus? Yes. But has it been overblown? Definite. Who do I believe will be in the finals of this year's G1? Well, for the A block, I see Jay White, the Switchblade, winning it. He openly stated, after he beat Flip Gordon last Friday, it's still his era. Evil's run at the top was little more than a placeholder. And I would love to see White and Evil battle it out in the block final. On the other hand, and why? Because I want to see a Bullet Club Civil War that we didn't get with the OGs against the Elite. I want to see Japanese branch against Gaijin branch. The pure Japanese wrestlers in the Bullet Club against the Gaijin members of the Bullet Club. Because here's how they'll do, if they do it this way, here's how they should set it up. Evil will rub in Jay White's face, I succeeded where you failed and became a double champion. I brought Bullet Club to a level of ruthlessness you could never bring it to. Where, essentially the question of, where were you, Jay, when Bullet Club was stretched thin? Where were you? That's basically Evil's way of looking at it if he faces Jay White in the final. Who do I believe Jay White will beat on his way to get to the final? Well, he's easily going to crush Yujiro, that's no question. He'll get his revenge, more vengeance on Okada and Ibushi. I think he'll fall again to Tomohiro Ishii. Suzuki's going to kick his ass. But then he'll find every shortcut in the book to beat Shingo, Taichi, Cobb, Will. Okay, I said he'll beat Ibushi, Okada, Yujiro, Taichi, Cobb, and Ospreay. But he's going to lose to Ishii and Suzuki. So, yeah, I say White goes into the G1 into the final with a 7-2 record. Evil, well, let's see. He's going to have a tough time with ZSJ. He's going to best Kenta, beat Juice, decimate Yoshihashi again, topple Yano, crush Goto. He's going to fall to Sonata. Probably lose to Tanahashi, but not likely. But I will throw the ace the ace at the twilight of his career, in the tail end of his career, a bone. And probably beat Naito on the final block day. So he'd at least guarantee himself a rematch. So he'd at least guarantee himself a rematch at Power Struggle. Get himself a rematch at Power Struggle in November. So, I'm gonna say Evil ends the B block, top of the class, but with a 6-3 record. His losses will come to Hiroshi Tanahashi, Sonata, and ZSJ. And then it's going to come down to White versus Evil, and I say White comes out on top. This builds the tension between the Bullet Club, sets up White versus Naito at Wrestle Kingdom, and continues the vendetta between Bullet Club and Los Ingobernables de Japón to a lesser extent. No, I'm not doing it. Sorry, a little bit distracted by something else. But anyway, regardless, those are my top picks for the G130. Leave a comment, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Mets2128 signing out. Goodbye, and good night. Bang!